When it was first compiled and written down, you believe that it was from him speaking Greek?
The Tanakh would have been written in Ivri or Hebrew and Aramaic. The New Testament would be written in the lingua franca of the time, which would be Greek. For instance, even your diaspora Jews like Philo, who lived in Alexandria, he wrote in Greek. But your Palestinian Jews also wrote in Greek. And the reason why is because it was the lingua franca. So like Josephus, his writings are in Greek, and he was a Palestinian Jew who spoke Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek.
Interesting. But what I mean is, so Jesus transmitted the New Testament, right?
Yes, he is the mediator of the new covenant.
Okay.
In Luke 22:20.
And so my question was, so the language that he transmitted the New Testament, do you guys believe it was from Greek or from Aramaic?
Well, it like I said, it would have been the same situation as you have with the Quran. So the Quran has him speaking in Arabic, and he didn't ever speak Arabic. So whatever he spoke would have been transmitted in whatever the lingua franca is. I don't know. He could have spoken Hebrew. All that doesn't matter. The only reason why we're on this subject is because you're trying to find a way to have some type of justification for rejecting the Gospels, and also to try to justify the fact that your prophet contradicted the Gospels. It's really just kind of a discursive argument, because God on the day of Pentecost spoke in 16 different languages, which were recorded, right? They all heard the wondrous message of God in their own language, and one of those languages was Arabic. So the first messianic sermon that any Arabic-speaking people heard was that Jesus was unalived by crucifixion, rose again, and was divine. It was changed 6 centuries later. So it doesn't really matter what the text was written in. You're just making much ado about something that, is kind of inconsequential.
No, it absolutely matters. I mean,
it doesn't matter, because God intended his message to be universal, to have universal scope and universal power. So it would have had to have been written in a language that could be properly translated effectively in other languages.
Yeah. So it does matter. I've learned
it doesn't matter.
So hold on. Let's not speak over each other. All right. Number one, I didn't join the live because of the reason you said. I just came here to make one correction, and I was going to leave, but they wanted to continue having a discussion. Number two, I do have a limited understanding of Christianity. So I'm not here to argue, debate, pick anybody's religion apart. But if you're asking me for my position as to why I reject the modern day Injil, it's because, number one, it matters when you translate a holy book into a different language, like ours is.
May I ask why?
Language. I'm explaining right now.
Just let them finish, Kyle.
Yeah, like ours is, right? I read the Quran in English, right? I know for a fact that it does not have the same value or meaning that it does in Arabic. And the reason I know that is because I listen to scholars explaining in English the value and depth and meaning that can't be translated by my simple reading, right? So that kind of thing matters. But that's not to say that the Quran or the Bible translated into a different language loses all its meaning or all its value. And my personal belief is that I still consider the Bible a holy book, but it's just a holy book that's been adulterated, right? So there's still a lot of value.
You have to prove that. Those are claims that you have to qualify.
Talk to the scholars who've studied this topic, man.
Okay,
I mean, I've listened to them.
Do you have any theological credentials?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, well, I do. I have the credentials that most of these scholars you're talking about have.
Okay.
And what I'm telling you is that there's no textual critical or form critical or redactional critical scholar who claims that the message of the Bible has been destroyed.
Then you are on a wrong platform. You know, with all due respect, you're on the wrong platform. You're sitting here trying to talk to laymen. I know, but what I'm trying to let you know is throwing around scholars means nothing to me. I'm not throwing around.
You're saying that Christian scholars say that your text has been corrupted, and
No,
you're not naming any.
No, that's not what I said at all. You're completely misinterpreting what I just said. You asked me to bring you proof. I told you that this is not my field of expertise. Go talk to these scholars. And I did not mean in any way, shape, or form Christian scholars. I meant Muslim scholars who have studied Christianity, the Bible, these kinds of things. Go talk to them. You are on the wrong platform. You should be talking to those kind of people, not laymen.
No, I do. My libraries are awash with scholars on the Islamic side.
Nice.
And what I'll tell you is they're not too much of scholars because they actually say the same thing you say, which is what we as Christians call a dawah script. That means from the academy to the tent in a poor Bedouin neighborhood, you say the same thing that they say, whether you're in the academy or you're in the streets of Baghdad or Cairo or whatever. Okay. So it's a dawah script that you guys have. There's really no scholarship to it. You start with Muhammad is true, and the Bible is a clear indication that Muhammad is not a true prophet. His message is not true. And so what I have to do is I have to figure out a way to discredit and marginalize the Bible. And that's what Muslims have been doing for 1400 years. And you're going to do it today, you're going to do it tomorrow, because every day you wake up, that Bible's going to be a mirror that tells you that you're in error and you follow error. and I say that because it's absolutely true. Yeah. So, just to cut to the chase. I'll mute up and you guys can continue.
What is it? I'd like to ask you, what is the error that the Bible tells us that we're not seeing?
Okay, so number one, Jesus was unalive by crucifixion and he rose again. That's a fact. His crucifixion is a fact of history. It's actually laughable in the academy to claim that he wasn't, because you don't have any evidence that he wasn't. Mm-hmm. But you believe it anyway. Okay, in spite of the consensus of scholarship.
Well, we do believe that he was crucified, just not, that he didn't die, right?
But understand what Surah 4, Ayah 157 says. It says two things. It doesn't just say he wasn't unalive. It says he wasn't even crucified. He never went through the process of crucifixion. So for you to say that we believe he was crucified, he just didn't die by the process of crucifixion, is to go against what your Quran.
It wasn't God replaced him with someone else.
He did.
Yeah. That's what the Muslim belief is, right?
That's one of the Muslim beliefs.
Right. Okay. What else?
The other one is just basic historical type stuff, like Surah 5, Surah Al-Ma'idah, Ayah 14. Allah took a covenant with those who called themselves Christians, but they forgot a portion of that which they were reminded. So Allah sowed enmity and hatred amongst them until the day of resurrection. Okay. When and where did he make this covenant with Christians?
Probably through Jesus. I mean, I don't know the concept.
Because we don't go by probabilities. Remember, I'm a Christian reading your book. And your book is indicting Christians for not following through a covenant that they don't know anything about. We don't know what it is. And then you claim that Allah gave the Zabur to David, and in the Zabur 25:14 of Psalm 25:14, it says that Yahweh makes his covenant known to his servants who fear him. So he's going to let you know what the covenant is. So if Allah took a covenant with those who call themselves Christians, then we need to know what that is.
Okay. Have you asked
Yes, I have. And like I said, whether it's the academy or it's the poor kid in the Bedouin neighborhood living in a tent, they say the same.
What is the explanation? I'd like to know.
The explanation is we don't need to know that. And the Quran is not a book of history. The Quran is
So
not
Muslims, when you ask them what the covenant is, when it was revealed or when it was given by God, they say you don't need to know that. That's an explanation. Yep. That's interesting.
But I'm talking to you, so maybe you have a different approach.
Well, I don't know.
What I'm saying is that we're talking about verifiable history. Like 6 centuries before Muhammad, there's not a century that I know of that's had more spades, more brushes, more fingerprints on it than the first century. It's probably one of the most excavated centuries in the history of the world. So there's tons of information on who Jesus was, who his original disciples were, what the covenant was that he made with them. And what I'm saying is, if it's going to indict me, it's going to sow hatred and enmity amongst me and my brother, the Word, and my brother Kyber. I mean, I think maybe we need to know what that covenant was. And then it also claims that we forgot a portion of that which we were reminded. What was that? Seems like a just, holy, righteous God would let us know what the crimes are, or the things that we're being convicted of.
Yeah.
Or were, so I'm just saying, these are tough. Those are easy questions for us to answer. But if I go back to the historical record and I show you what that covenant was, as a Muslim, you're going to have to reject it because it's a blood covenant. Luke 20:20, which is Jesus inaugurating the new covenant, the Brit Hadashah, which was prophesied 6 centuries before he was born by Jeremiah, the prophet Jeremiah, in chapter 31, verses 31 and 32. But it's a blood covenant, and it was ratified when he was unalived on the cross. So we know what it is, but you guys reject that, so it has to be something else. And I just think that that's a real simple historical claim that you guys need to qualify, or you should be able to qualify, if in fact it's true. Other than that, me and other Christians hate each other because we failed to follow through a covenant that we don't even know what it was. Okay. Like I'm making monthly payments on a car I never bought. You know what I'm saying? So it's those types of issues.
Okay, so I mean, I'll say 2 things about that. One, I would say go talk to a Muslim scholar who's actually educated on both religions, and ask them the question sincerely and see if they can provide you an answer. That's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I'd say is that I think, asking that question is kind of a waste because, there's a final prophet that came out, for how many years after Jesus, and completed the message of God. So maybe you guys should open this new book and look into that. And yeah.
But what we're telling you is we have looked into the book and it don't line up with the previous book, and it don't even, you see nothing about it theologically or anything about it that lines up with a previous revelation.
Even Jesus himself said that he is the one with the seal.
Okay. I wouldn't look for an exact alignment, but are you saying that the Quran and Islam does not align with an Abrahamic faith? Do you not think that Islam is an Abrahamic faith?
Not at all. It don't align with the core doctrine of the Abrahamic faith.
How?
Just like how do you atone for your sins?
It's definitely not the suicide of God, right?
Hold on, naked. I'm talking to TV. How do you atone for your sins, TV?
You don't. We don't have atonement in our
life. Hold on. The previous Abrahamic faiths actually have atonement for their sin. First, it started off with animals. With animals and purifying themselves through the high priest in the temple, sacrificing an animal to cover your sins for a year. Then, after a minute, the God, he Well, from the beginning, he said he was going to provide his own sacrifice. And his own sacrifice ended up becoming the Messiah, Jesus Christ, that you also have in your own Quran. But you don't know what the Messiah means because the Quran actually takes it and don't take the context of it and put it into your scriptures, and it don't let you know. You just know Jesus is the Messiah because Allah said he's the Messiah. But he's going to be the Messiah for certain reasons, certain qualifications, certain prophecies that he had to fulfill to become the Messiah. And the Messiah said it is the same as the suffering servant in Isaiah. The suffering servant was going to come and die for all the sins of humanity, reaching from starting at the house of Israel all the way to the nations, all nations of the Gentiles. This is what it is that you don't have in your Quran.
Okay.
Now, if God is never changing and God is the same, he's not going to just scrap something he's been doing for almost 4,000 years until you come to Arabia. You come to Arabia in a, desert Arab come running out of a cave saying he got revelation and it don't even line up with nothing in the previous scriptures.
I'm not here to argue, debate, pick anybody's religion apart. I still consider the Bible a holy book, but it's just a holy book that's been adulterated, right? So there's still a lot
But
of
you have to prove.
meaning.
You have to prove that. Those are claims that you have to qualify.